welcome to the Tea and a Buddy podcast. I'm Dominic.
And I'm Erica.
And today's episode is going to be things that annoy Erica about British people. And everything they do. Very annoying.
Oh my gosh.
She's going to have a rant today, people. She's got a list. Buckle up.
I don't have much of a list. Actually, we've done this episode before. If you guys have listened
Ranted.
for a while. We did an episode where I ranted about things that annoy me, which I think were things like
about it.
which I think were things like British people thinking they're the only people that queue.
Oh yeah, just that was like the soft soap stuff.
British people who
going easy.
Well, no, because I think we talked about British people who don't appreciate America's help during World War II. That's like a very common thing you see on Twitter and just online in general, between Brits and Americans arguing. Brits are always like, oh, well, we didn't need you. You know, Americans are like, oh, you know, you're welcome for not having to speak German now and whatever. And Brits are always like, oh, you took your time and we didn't really need you.
Sod's law, innit?
Yeah.
Yeah, mate. Not worth it. Worth it. Fall back.
And I honestly can't remember what the other things were that I mentioned annoy me at that time. So it's quite possible that I might repeat myself. But we just felt like this was necessary to do again because there's so many times that Dominic and I are talking and he's reading me something that that he's read online or whatever, and
I read a lot of things online.
You know, he's reading it out loud to me and I'm just like, oh, why do they do that? Why do they all think that? That is so annoying. So that's basically where the idea for this podcast comes from.
So she collected some thoughts together and
well, I should have been collecting them better. Like every time I mentioned to you, oh, you know, something that's annoyed me. We should have like made a little note down.
Well, we did. I did.
We did, but I also did some general research about things that annoy people in other countries.
You went on those forums, didn't you? Yes.
People in other countries, not just Americans. I think that the top thing that I found on there, people complaining about, were Brits on holiday.
Brits abroad, yeah. Even British people complain about Brits abroad.
And I've not... I mean, you and I have been abroad together. We've been to Spain and Italy and France.
And we've seen Brits.
I think we must not have gone to the places where
like Magaluf,
Brits collect together, you know?
Tenerife, Benidorm.
Yeah, I guess so. Greece, apparently.
Ibiza,
Corfu, one of the
Crete.
One of the people I was reading.
It's all cheap holidays.
The general complaint, of course, is that Brits, no matter their age, you know, when you read this, you kind of just generally assume that it's teenagers, like young people, but it's really not. It's all ages.
It's all ages. It's all ages up to like 70.
Yeah.
In Ibiza, they're giving it welly on the booze.
It is kind of
it
is kind of embarrassing to see like a collection of people from other European countries all basically saying the same thing. You know what I mean? Like, so the complaint is that these Brits abroad, in quotation marks.
Brits abroad.
What they do is basically just use these holidays to wherever as a reason to get drunk. Yeah. They book tours and things like that, but they're not particularly interested necessarily.
It's usually they go out and they're like, oh, well, what a night. Can't remember anything, mate. It was mental.
Yeah.
Oh, got such a hangover now, but we got to go to see the Colosseum, or, you know, we got to go see the Ephesus or whatever, in Turkey. Oh man, but I don't feel up for it, mate. I just can't wait to get back on the booze, you know.
They go to these places because it's cheap alcohol, isn't it?
It's cheap alcohol and it's cheap to get there.
And they know they're gonna meet other Brits. I mean,
they're gonna meet other Brits. No, the thing is, right? They go, you find the commonality of all these people that do this,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, you know, like a man and a woman, or you know, even a couple of guys or whatever. So where did you meet? So we met out in Crete.
Yeah.
And it's like, because you go out to Crete, you'd expect like, oh, you're gonna meet Greek people.
Yeah.
And where you're going to meet other Brits.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'm from Warrington. Where are you from? I'm from, Dudley.
That was the complaint of these Europeans. Oh, they come over here and they expect us all to speak English to them.
Yes. No, because the thing is, they're getting in this like hotel. As I said, we went to Turkey, and it was 20 rooms.
Mm-hmm.
It was all Brits in the room. No one else. No one from anywhere else. And it was just a Brits abroad holiday.
Yeah.
And funnily enough, it was one of my favourite holidays, because it was actually, I was 12 and I was just having a great time.
Yeah. But you could have been anywhere, right? Like,
I could have.
Because you were just in the pool most of the time.
I was in the pool, and, but we were surrounded by the Turkish mountains, which was quite spectacular, because I remember, because they had this like...
But you were a kid, so you do remember. The adults probably don't remember that holiday.
It was a mental holiday. It was a really good holiday. No, actually, there were a couple of people from like... there was a couple of South Africans there, and there was a guy from Holland, from the Netherlands too.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously we all spoke English to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this guy that looked like Freddie Mercury, and he got sunburn when they were out on a tour, because that's all he was doing. He was boozing all the time.
Yeah.
He wasn't taking any water.
Mm.
And so he got sunstroke, and had to go to hospital for it. But yeah, no, I just remember everybody was like, there was this bar that was like off from the main hotel.
Yeah.
And, we'd all just be there all the time, and I'd just be swimming in the pool having a great time. It was like 100 degrees in the shade,
Yeah.
And we were surrounded by the Turkish mountains in Uludağ in Turkey,
Yeah.
in Fethiye.
But
it was a great holiday, but yeah, it was kind of like, it was Brits abroad.
Yeah.
So
they're loud.
Some guy even drove out there from Britain.
They're drunk.
In his Ford Sierra.
They're falling down everywhere.
They're falling in love with someone. They're having a holiday.
They're falling down.
Yeah,
they're injuring themselves.
They're injuring themselves.
They're vomiting everywhere.
Gaz whacked his head. He has to go to hospital. Have stitches.
They're sleeping with each other, which is like not a thing, but you can do that anywhere.
yeah, well, that's the thing. It's like there was this guy called Steve, who drove out in his Ford Sierra all the way from wherever he was from in the UK.
Yeah.
He drove to Turkey, which is kind of like,
right.
You're almost driving to the Middle East here,
Mm-hmm.
And he met some girl who was staying in the hotel too.
But they're meeting other Brits.
And he was like,
it's not even like
she was from the same, from like 20 minutes away from him.
It's not even like they're having like a romantic rendezvous with, a local.
A native.
Yeah, a local who they're then going to fall in love with and then going to have to leave,
So, well, I'm taking her home, and
it's
we
like,
drive back,
they're like,
like,
oh, let's go
he's
home.
done this, and we were all like, yeah, he's done this before, and he's taken another one of those before, he's come out.
He didn't murder her though. It's like these people don't know each other. I'll ride home.
He seemed like a nice bloke, actually.
I'll ride back to Britain with you. Sure, why not?
Seemed like a nice bloke, actually.
I don't know. Anyway, I can't really comment on that. I just found it a bit embarrassing that all these Europeans were complaining about the way Brits behave when they're in their countries.
Yes.
And this one sort of ties into one of my annoyances, and that is how British people think that they are the only ones who understand irony. Because if that were true, surely they must find it ironic how their opinion about Americans is the loud, obnoxious tourists. And yet this is the way they behave.
Obnoxious tourist.
And this is the reputation
they have.
The only problem
is with Americans, they're not
Europe.
drunk when they're giving their opinions. Well, we were drunk, weren't we? We can't remember. We were just having a drink. We didn't know.
We were just having a laugh when we jumped off that building into the pool and got arrested, you know?
It was mental. Can't remember anything, but it was mental, mate.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so that's one of my things,
yeah.
Brits always thinking they're the only ones who understand irony yet, you know.
Yeah.
They don't see the irony in
it's a dodge,
that.
mate, yeah.
To go along with the irony, with the thinking they're the only ones that understand irony, it annoys the crap out of me. Just this superior attitude.
Superior.
Again, they're acting like this.
Simon Cowell.
They're acting like this in other countries, but yet, they're so much better than everyone else.
So much better, darling.
And I do not even think I'm generalizing. You guys, if you look at British people on the internet or in, I don't know, not in movies, because those are fake characters, you know, whatever, but I don't know.
They're not fake characters, they're based on actual people.
Well, I mean, they seem to be, you know, you get this sort of, if you know any British people, and I think Dominic and I have had a few conversations where this sort of British superiority complex, and I'm going to call it a complex, comes out, you know, and it's just like, no. And I don't know where that comes from.
Well, it's never come out with me.
Oh, it hasn't it? No, of course not.
Because I'm just the best at everything, aren't I? Just the best, and you
can't.
can't.
You're too good for that. You're too good
for this. I'm too good for everything over here. I'm too good for this heat.
No, but you know what I mean, like
this infernal heat.
Where does that come from? That superiority.
The Empire.
That, like...
It's actually. Do you know where it comes from? Because there's in London, in a street in London, I can't remember the name of it, but there's a stone, and it was laid there by the first man ever. The first man.
Shut up.
And that's where the first man came, and he was like, "This is where humanity needs to aspire to," and that's it. The end.
That's it.
He declared, "I now declare Britain the superior nation. Goodbye."
No, seriously though. I mean,
what?
Do you acknowledge that that's a thing?
Of course it is, yeah. But I mean, sometimes it gets a bit ridiculous.
And I won't sit here and say that there are not some Americans who are the same way. Obviously, there are some Americans who feel like, they are.
There are Americans who are the same way, but they just don't know how to do it right. They don't know how to do They don't know how to do it right. You know, they're sitting there going all.
Mr. Superior, coming from Mr. Superior.
Mr. Superior, you're not doing it right. This is how you need to be superior.
The Americans, they don't know how to be superior.
They don't know how to be superior. You're over there doing your superior bit. It's just not how it's done, I'm afraid. And it's like, that's how the rest of the world sees Britain and America. It's like one person trying to be superior over the other. It's like, oh, yes, we're superior because we got a big military and, loads of money and McDonald's everywhere. And it's like, we got everything. We got everything. We got a queen.
Another thing that
stripes on the flag.
That annoys me. I don't know if it annoys me, really. It more amuses me. And we talked about this just a few podcasts ago.
It's very amusing to me.
How wound up British people
get on the internet.
When particularly Americans say anything about them. About Britain. Not even
you should be revering us.
Yeah,
that's what it is. And I think it's the same with those superior Americans too. They think like, oh, why aren't you revering us over here? Mm-hmm. Whereas I think the majority of the Americans who think, they don't care about what other countries think of them.
No,
and it's just
that's ultimate superiority, isn't it?
That's kind of like how Britain was in the 1800s. And it's kind of like this way of just like, oh, I don't care what other people think. We don't care. We don't know where everybody is. We just know the sun never sets on the empire. Mm-hmm. And it's the same. They just don't care about other countries until someone says something. Oh, Canada or, Brazil or Britain or whatever, and Africa. It's like, oh, well, yeah, they look to us to prop them up and and it's just like, no. It's like, It's like, because it's like that kind of thing has been instilled. And it's largely the British people's fault that America's the way it is now.
Yeah.
Politically as well. And I'm not saying like, because Britain's influencing the politics of America and all that. It's just kind of always been that way. You know, ever since, it ultimately did influence the politics, with the the War of Independence and everything like that, it's like that kind of thing. Whereas in Britain, everybody cares about what they think. They care very deeply about, how dare Ireland say that about Britain?
Yeah.
How dare who's Greenland? How dare they come out and say Britain's crap? How dare they talk about this? And what are they eating over there?
That's the superiority thing, though, isn't it? A little bit.
It is. But it's just like, if Greenland said, sod America, whatever thing. Well, I don't even know where Greenland is, so I don't care about that place.
Yeah.
Greenland where? South Carolina? I don't care. It's like...
Yeah.
Whereas Britain's like, how dare they?
How dare they insult the Queen,
How dare they insult the Queen? You better so... That's how they talk now. Yes, it's just, you better say sorry,
And the superiority complex sort of goes hand in hand with British people thinking they're more intelligent, particularly than Americans. I find that really annoying.
In geography.
In general. Just in general. Just about...
It's all coming out now, isn't it?
Just about everything. No, I find it winds me up. This
is just personal... this is getting personal here, isn't it?
I mean, seriously, though.
She's talking from personal experience here. She got her and think, I don't care. I'm as thick as two short planks, me. I don't know anything, mate.
Well, that's what I was going to say. This coming from, they're so quick to, like, point out or, like, say how...
Say, no, that's not how it is. Well, it's how I think it is.
They're so quick to say...
Why do you say that?
They're so quick to just go, Americans are so stupid. They don't know geography, even though...
It's geography, actually.
Even though we've seen online, like... who is it? Influencers, YouTubers, just general chat show hosts or whoever, asking British people the same types of things that they do over here. Asking them, fill out this map of Western Europe.
Oh, Western Europe.
Or Britain.
Fill out this map of Britain.
We haven't seen
well, that's not Britain for a start.
And the British people don't know geography any better than Americans, it would appear.
Well, no, you watch it. I was like, where's that?
Yeah.
Where's Warrington?
Yeah.
Where's that? Is that like near London or what?
Yeah. What's this county? Is this a county? I've never heard of this county. Like, what's going on?
It's like, yeah.
So, they're no better at geography than Americans. In general, of course, all of these things are in general, so please...
Very generalized.
Save your letters, We don't want your letters. But also, they say, they're so much smarter, yet Boris Johnson is their prime minister. And they voted for Brexit.
Yes!
It's
How
like...
could you be so silly?
It's a little bit like put Britain on one end of the scale, put America on the other end of the scale, and they're probably way about the same thing, when it comes right down to it, as far as general intelligence about just things.
Political things, yeah.
Political things, geographical things, just things in general. I don't find Britain to be particularly largely there you go. How smart am I, an American talking? Anyway, don't answer that. Let's see.
They are going to answer it. You're going to have several annoyed things when this goes up on YouTube in 2 years' time.
Yeah, in 2 years' time. A few other, like, more minor things that annoy me are just their insistence on using the 24-hour clock.
It's a superior way.
I mean, just stop.
What do you mean stop? We're not going to stop using clocks.
Just stop
We need to
using
tell
the
the time.
24-hour clock. We've had this argument before. I think, did we do it in a Patreon podcast?
We probably did, yeah. We talked about
we
it.
talked about the
Patreon
24-hour clock
Yes.
in a Patreon podcast.
So there you go. If you want to hear us really getting into it, head on over to our Patreon, Tea and a Buddy, and subscribe.
Yeah.
It's like a subscribe.
Yeah. Donate. Whatever.
Donate, subscribe,
Donate
whatever.
for more benefits and extra content.
More arguments on the subject of the 24-hour clock. Yeah, we talked about that because, I mean, in the UK, I mean, I've just used, it's kind of like the same kind of thing. We kind of use the old and the new together.
Yeah.
Because, it's like, British people be like, all their clocks are in these, like, in 24 hours, but they still say 4 o'clock, and they don't say it like 2300 hours, or they don't say 1600 hours,
Yeah.
And it's like, no, we don't, but, we know how to read, we know what time it is. I mean, we could be in the office, like in an office.
If you have an analog clock, it's not difficult. It's not really difficult, is it? Because
but you don't know what time of day it is what I'm saying. If you have an analog clock.
I'm just saying, look outside. Is the sun up or isn't it?
That would require you getting up.
Don't you have windows? I mean, where are you?
The windows are all closed.
Where are you that there are no windows?
And also, in the winter, right, 4 o'clock in the morning is dark, and 4 o'clock in the afternoon is dark. And it's like you could have fallen asleep at your desk, and you could wake up and it's dark outside, and you're like, what time is it? It says 4 o'clock. Okay. 4 o'clock in the morning?
Well, are there still other people in your office, or is everyone gone?
You don't know. You don't know.
See, there you go. How stupid are British people? They just don't know. We're just like, I don't know what time it is. Without the 24-hour clock, I have no idea.
You get what we're talking about, don't you, people?
Another thing...
You could be out on the street, you could have fallen asleep in a train station, and you're like, oh, wait a minute, 4 o'clock when?
Another thing is not so much of an annoyance, and I don't know if we've ever talked about it on this podcast. If we did, it was probably eons ago. It's more of a question for me, and that is British people who don't rinse the soap off of their dishes.
We leave the stuff to dry because it runs down, innit?
Yeah, but there's still going to be soap residue on the dishes.
Nah, mate, it's all gone, innit?
No, I thought that it was just a you thing. I thought, just nobody's ever taught him how to really wash dishes very well, but apparently I've seen it online. Apparently it's a thing. British people just don't rinse. They wash it in the soap,
and then we just leave it
in the hot
to dry.
Water, and then they just put it to dry. What? What is
the
going on?
soap runs down and off onto the draining board.
But little residue is going to still be on there.
I don't want
to taste the residue, the soap residue when I'm eating.
You don't.
Yeah, you're going to. Sure you would.
Because superior taste buds don't taste the soap residue, I'm afraid.
But I wonder why that's a thing. That is so...
No, I've always kind of like half done it, half not. Because, like, I've seen that argument on, and I've like, and you've said it to me before. You're like, oh yeah, you used to stick it in the drying rack and just let it drip.
I remember you washed and dried the dishes or whatever one day, and I just came down and they were all in the rack and all suds just still like on the backs of the plates and everything, and like down
on
in
the
bottom.
backs of the plates, not the fronts.
Well, and down on the. I mean, they're gonna stay on the backs of the plates longer, aren't they? Because there's that little ridge.
Exactly.
So they just
no, but the thing is that thing goes right off. But yeah, what you're really supposed to do is you give them a quick wipe before you.
But without water. I don't know. I mean, British people, if we have British listeners, let us know, do you rinse the soap off of
Someone probably does,
They're going to be like, yeah, we don't know what he's talking about. But no, it is a thing. I've seen it on the internet. I've seen other people ask that question, why British people
later
don't
generations
rinse the soap
will
off.
have a dishwasher, so...
Well, yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you have a dishwasher...
We had a dishwasher when I was a kid, and then we, like, washed dishes by hand. And then I guess we just didn't, because we didn't have room for a dishwasher. No, our kitchen was huge.
Yeah. But it was an old house.
It was an old house, so we just didn't bother getting one. It was energy, and it's water bill.
You just would have had
We're just getting taxed, superior people need to be taxed superiorly.
Oh my god, this has opened up a can of worms, you guys.
Yes.
What else
Yes,
do
it
I
has.
have on this list?
You've got
I haven't
thinking
been
the
drinking.
British people are the only ones that do things.
Yeah.
And
we've
that's
already...
just things, just do things.
Well,
you know,
we've
like
already touched on that.
we wash dishes and put them in the thing.
Oh,
yeah.
we're the only ones that cue. We know how to cue. Oh, we're the only ones that have a sarcastic humor. It's just like, no, you're not. What are you talking about? You know, these things that British people are so proud of. Oh, yes, this defines our culture. It's just like...
We invented everything.
It's like, do you think that people don't do these things in other places? Like, what do you think? Like, when we check out in the grocery stores...
It's just a madhouse there.
Everybody's just fighting over, like, who gets to check their stuff out.
Well, guess what? Black Friday.
No, we have to stand in line. We have to stand in a queue, don't we, to check out.
No, you don't. Black Friday, you're going crazy, smashing each other.
You know,
I was checking out here first.
I once slept in a queue, in a line, we call it in America, in Times Square to meet Paul McCartney. That was a queue.
Yes.
That had nothing to do with British people, wasn't it?
That did, actually, because he was going to meet Paul McCartney.
Oh, no! Oh, no, I knew you were going to say that as soon as I finished saying it. Oh, God.
You see, I'm thinking ahead.
What else?
And so was Paul. He was like, please, orderly queue, fashion.
Oh, my God. No, what else? There's other things. Oh, we're the only ones that do this. We're the only ones that do that. No, you're not.
We're the only ones that talk. But then we don't talk, and then we're all polite, and oh yes, very polite. And
oh yes, we're the only ones polite and who have manners. It's like unless you're on holiday in a European country,
on holiday or online.
Oh, online, yes,
and sometimes at home.
Online, all you have to do is say, "Oh, I put them." Well, no, because some people do put the milk in the mug first, don't they? I
put the jam on first.
I put the jam on first.
Or I put oh, do you know what I do? I
put the Marmite on first and then the butter. Oh, that would probably wind some British people up end.
That's kind of winding me up. You just saying that. Because you don't do that. Don't put you put the butter on and then you put the Marmite on so it blends in. Thanks a lot. You just ruined my day. No, it's people who argue about that stuff. It's like all you have to say is, "Oh, I make tea in the microwave."
Oh yeah.
I put the tea bag in the cold water, and I stick it in the microwave for a minute. Then you
just wind all those so-called polite Brits up, and they'll be calling you every name under the sun.
What are you putting in the microwave for? What are you doing? You know, that woman who was like living on the army base in RAF Lakenheath or wherever they were living, you know, they were living in Britain. Mm-hmm. They figured out how to like go viral pretty quickly, you know.
Yeah. We should do something like that just to wind people up. We should make other British people think that you living...
I'll tell you what to do.
No, you living in America has made you like make tea in the microwave. You'll be like, oh... That's it. We're gonna do this. Okay, you guys will know. You listeners will be the first ones who will know. We'll just be like, oh, living in America has really taught me something, you know. And this is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way.
This is it. We heat our mugs up. Well, the thing is, right? My argument against putting tea in the microwave. The cup handle gets scalding hot. You cannot take it out of there. So it's like that's just ruined it. It's like you have to wait for the cup to cool down as well as the tea, and the tea gets and microwaves anyway. It goes cold in like an instant. It's only it heats.
Well, by the time the cup cools down enough to touch, then the tea is also cool.
Yes. So it's also it's like tepid, and we don't not need tepid water.
Don't not need it.
Do not need it. Tepid water.
The last one on my list is just the general negativity that British people seem to have about everything. About just everything.
Well, that's not right, is it?
And I'm a really optimistic person, and I think that
Britain's largely full of pessimists.
I think a lot of British people would argue that their pessimism, yeah, is realism. Oh, I'm being realistic.
I'm just
about
being
things.
real. Well, certain things, yes. I will grant that, someone getting excited about...
You can be realistic and still be optimistic.
This job I've got, it's going to pay me $2 million a month, and all I have to do is sit in the thing, and this guy told me about it, and he says, he's recruited me and stuff like that, and everyone's like, yeah, no, I don't think that's a thing, So you being, you're just so negative.
Yeah.
It's like, well, no, it's just like, you've got to think about this logically. Why would someone pay me $1 million to just sit in a chair all day?
Yeah, but I think you can be realistic. I think you can.
And it's like, if it turns out to be true, then good for you. Great,
you can go. This might, but you could be like, this might be a bit of an iffy kind of thing, but it's not going to cost me anything. I'm not gonna. It's not going to affect my life that much if it turns out to be a fake thing, so I'm going to be optimistic that it's real. What's wrong with that? But British people would never. They would just never.
They'd report him to Ofcom, this guy, wouldn't they?
But why?
And they'd say, you can't park there, mate.
Why so much negativity about everything? I was reading on something, I don't know, people were having, on one of the Quoras or something like that, people were having a discussion about that British people, they almost want things to fail. There'll be something passed and it's just like they want to be so negative about it. Yeah.
It's going to fail. Don't worry about it.
And then what? They'll be happy when it fails. When they're right? I don't know what that's about.
Well, that's disappointing me that it failed, even though I was willing it to fail.
I mean, obviously, that's a generalization as well. Obviously, there's going to be some optimistic people in Britain, and they're not all pessimistic, but...
Optimism. It'll be great. Don't you worry about it. It'll be fine. I mean, you just don't think about it. It'll be all right. You know what? It's going to fail, though.
I mean, I think our relationship works because you're quite pessimistic. Not all the time. And I'm quite optimistic, so we balance each other out.
Every time someone gets in a car over here, I'm just quite pessimistic.
No, but we talk about things. You tell me why, the negative things that could happen from something that maybe I'm choosing to not
ignore.
Think about. And I tell you no, but it's, it could be blah, blah, blah.
It's like, well, we'll try it. Okay, we'll go with it. And we'll see what happens. But don't get your hopes up. Yeah, that's Britain in a nutshell. Don't get your hopes up.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with I don't know.
Because the thing is, Brits always say, getting his hopes up, getting their hopes up. They're getting their hopes up about this.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, because I've gone through life not getting my hopes up about things.
Yeah.
Like someone comes to me and goes, oh, yeah, Tea and a Butty podcast. We're going to put it on TV. We're going to, whatever. So I'm not getting my hopes up because I know you're probably leading me up the garden path and then it's just all going to fall. They're going to, but before you get on the TV, we need one more thing from you, and that's $2 million.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, getting your hopes up and being naive are two different things in my opinion. I guess. Or being optimistic and being naive are two different things.
Cautiously optimistic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've rambled on.
That's about it. I'm sure
we've
there'll
rambled on so much now.
I'm sure there'll be another episode of this at some point.
Yes.
I will try next time to, when there's a thing that gets on my nerves, really make a note of it so that I have a better collection for you of things that just wind me up about British people or about Britain in general. But this is a decent list, I think.
I think, I think you did well there. You held back sufficiently. Didn't get your hopes up.
Let me know anything that winds you up about British people or about Britain, about visiting Britain if you've been there, anything you've observed or, experienced from talking to British people online or anything like that. Because, there's a lot of influencers and I don't know what you want to call them. People who sort of do the same thing we do where they talk about particularly British versus American. And this winds me up, and this has nothing to do with British people because it's mostly Americans who sort of what's the polite way to say this? Who sort of kiss up is that polite enough? Kiss up to their British audience about
Yes.
how wonderful all British people are and how much they love Britain
yes,
and
I
what
mean,
a great place. And I'm not saying it's not any of those things.
That's where British people look at Americans and go, it's all fake. So there's no
I don't think
there.
so. I think they like that. I think they like,
they love being
sucked up to,
like ego stroked and everything.
Yeah.
But then it's like, you look at it and you go, oh yeah, but that's all fake, innit?
But I
always say that too, it's all fake.
I just want to keep it real with you guys that I do get annoyed about British people. I mean, I'm married to a British person. I think I'm entitled to be annoyed by British people now and again.
It's gonna complain. God, she's all hugging me now. Like I'm a little hedgehog.
Oh my God,
I can't even speak.
Guys. I don't even know what's happening. I hope that this podcast, I swear to you people, I hope that this podcast has made any amount of sense, because I think we're like in weird moods, or I mean, we have not been drinking, but you would not be able to tell that from this podcast.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate your support as always.
Yeah.
Be sure to check us out on social media. We are at TButty, TEABUTTY on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And we will talk to you next time.
Talk to you next time. Bye! Yeah!